about y'all come on in and let's have us another visit here on the Humble Show. I am Grant Fletcher. Moonbeam Hallows is out this week, but I am being joined by my co-host Brandon Cox and a guest of ours, our friend Dalton, also known as Shadowclaw Cosplay. How are you, my friends?
Yeah, doing cool.
I can't complain. Just relaxing. Tomorrow's Friday. Thank God.
Yeah. We always record on Thursday. I mean, the Humbl3 Fam knows already that we get out ahead on the recording, so.
Yeah, you got it.
That's true, always looking forward to it. I have to, I've got my work cut out for me this weekend. I have to replace my stove. Brandon,
Ooh.
I told you about this.
You did. You got sabotaged.
I did, man.
Wait, what?
I was in my living room a couple nights ago, and I heard some weird noise coming from the kitchen. And I ran into the kitchen, and there was fire coming up from under the knobs of my stove.
Well, that's not good.
No.
Yeah. Typically, I don't know if you know this or not. Typically, not the part of the stove where you should have fire coming out of, under the knobs. So I ran and I cut off the power to that area, and so now I'm going to be replacing the stove this weekend. And it was a party. It was a party. So
I feel like the unlisted in the instruction manual feature of marshmallow roaster function. That just engaged and you didn't know.
Yeah.
No. It was Christmas mode. Chestnuts roast over an open fire. Just a few months too early.
Of course.
Oh man, I say a lot of things whenever I mess up in my life, but the next time I mess up, they're like, "Oh man, my bad. I'm in Christmas mode." You know how close it is.
You know how close it is to the holidays, and how I am when my brain is like that, and you get into Christmas mode, and
you gotta act as a foil. Like we love our humble Halloween lovers. In fact, we even have a con devoted to such, but. You have to combat the folks who are like, oh, it's only another 354 days until Halloween.
That's right.
Look at how I'm not going to decorate my house next year, but hey, look at this.
We finally have a house and a yard that we can decorate this year, so I am looking forward to that.
Heck yeah.
If we ever get to the point where we can actually unpack all of the stuff, because I don't know if you can see behind me, but I still have plenty of boxes to unpack here in my study. So,
dude, I've been living in my current apartment for about a year and a half now, and I still have just a plethora of boxes that will probably last until the next move. Honestly, they'll be completely sealed.
Look, Look, if it doesn't need to come out, just leave it in there.
And like don't throw it away. Those are treasures. Never throw away your treasures in your cardboard box.
Of course. Brandon, you had a little something. Do you want to talk about the long lost love note that you found in your apartment today? As a matter of fact.
Oh gosh, yeah. Give me 1 second. I have it in my kitchen. It'll take me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Oh, you're gonna go get it for us.
Yeah, 2 shakes of a crippled lamb's tail, but I'll be back.
Okay, well look.
He's actually going to make sure his stove is not on fire.
That's right. Well, while you're going to grab it, make sure your stove's not on fire while you're there. Just you might hear it. I heard mine, but yeah. So just to kind of tee this up while Brandon's gone, there were some his washer got replaced today. Was it the washing machine? Is that right?
Yeah, so here's the lovely thing about renting an apartment.
Yeah.
The most minor of things go wrong, you can be like, what do I do? And you contact the landlord and they take care of it. Yeah, most of
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. My washer. I don't know. It was leaking about a quarter of a cup of water. From the bottom.
That's a decent amount.
I was going to say, yeah.
But just, but I was like, okay, this is going to be bad after a while. So I let her know. She took a look at it and she was like, oh, yep, I see it. There's a puddle of water under here. We'll get it taken care of. But my washer is in my bathroom, and it's a very tight fit in there, so I've never really moved it around too much. So whenever she did move it, um, there was a note, I guess, either underneath or behind it, and it's a little,
Well,
little
something there.
tiny study hall ripped out notebook paper note right here, and I'll read it for you now.
Yeah.
Lindsay, gone to work. I left you something in this can lid. I just get worried I'm losing you.
Ooh.
I've been looking for you everywhere, and I finally found you. Don't take it from me, girl. I got to have your love. And that's the note.
I mean, that's powerful stuff. I hope that when he got off work that day, it was raining and she was standing by his car waiting for him.
Yeah.
And they had that moment, you know. I can picture it, right? What do you think was in the can lid?
See, that is the question of the day. You know what I think it was?
Yeah, what?
Gas station supplements. I'm not even talking. I'm not even talking about like horny goat weed. I'm like there's some nefarious stuff behind that gas station counter these days, like stuff that will ruin a family and like send you to
God.
You'll be begging in Berlin before you know it. Like I think it was like in that can. It was something like that. What do you guys think?
Man, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I was gonna think like some skull, some chew, something like that.
No.
Pretty much the same type of thing, right?
Man, none of that wussy skull stuff.
Honestly, okay. So if he's trying to make it up to her or something like that, so guess what it sounds like? She's mad. He's been missing her, that kind of thing. Maybe I'm thinking like a gift card or some cash or something like here. Go treat yourself, something like that. Maybe
a gift card to the Grindhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Huh. I mean, it is not far from there. I don't know. The great mystery, Humbl3 Fam. I'd love to hear what you think. What do you think was in the can lid?
Can?
What do you put in a can lid for somebody that you're worried is slipping away from you? Right.
This is starting to sound like an M. Night Shyamalan movie plot. Mysterious note.
Yeah,
we gotta find this can.
Maybe. Yeah. It's like he wrote the note, but he's been dead for 7 years. Yeah.
Okay, hold up. Here's my second guess.
Okay.
So this was so my washer is in the restroom. What sort of can is in there?
Yeah.
The turlet. That's right. The turlet. I imagine that this guy was not sorry at all, and he left himself a corn-backed rattler in that toilet. He's like, this is what you mean to me.
Well, in the mafia movies, they always hide a gun in the tank of the toilet.
That is true.
In the restaurant, right? Isn't that how they do it? So
that's Godfather. Yeah. Here's what'll make your day better: to spill the blood of your enemies.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the phrase that he just uttered like 30 seconds ago. I don't think I have ever heard that be described in that way.
It's about 30% of what Brandon says are things you've never really heard, but you understand the meaning.
Yeah.
Of course. Y'all, before we go on, we need to go ahead and get out our song recommendations. Brandon, do you have a song you want to recommend to the Humbl Fam this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't really prepare this time, but thankfully, and nobody knows this at home because of the Hollywood magic, aka the way that I point the camera at myself, but always at my feet is a stack of LPs that I've either listened to recently or I need to listen to recently.
I believe it.
And this album by a band called Old Saw Country Tropics.
Ooh.
It's a really good album, and it's in a genre that I've recently learned. Number one is a thing, and I've number two learned that it's a genre that I've loved for a long time. Ambient Americana. It's just like very lush, like pedal steel guitar, and like a lot of the instruments that you would associate with like country, western, and Americana, but done in an ambient fashion. I absolutely adore it. This entire album is great, and like it's one of those albums where all the songs bleed into each other. So to recommend an individual song, I think would be a fallacy. But so the second track on here, the second out of 4 on this like 40 or 50-minute album is The Mechanical Bull at Our Lady of the Valley. So that is my I always give 2 recommendations.
Yeah. It's usually 2 for Brandon, but that's okay. Never a problem.
This is one that I have actually not listened to yet, but it's a live album, so I know the songs. This is Guided by Voices. They're Austin City Limits live recording. From what I understand, and by the way, Uncle Bob is named after the lead guy in this band, Robert Pollard, old Bob Pollard, Uncle Bob. And I'm taking a look at the track list here, and I'm trying to think of a really good track that people really need to tune into. Oh man, they have My Impression Now on side 2. It's a very like upbeat yet vocally bittersweet song, and it's only like 2 or so minutes long. I think everybody should listen to that. The song is My Impression Now by the band Guided by Voices on their Austin City Limits live record.
Nice, I like it. You know what's funny? The Austin City Limits thing you reminded me before we move on is one of my dad's friends was a phenomenal trumpet player, and in fact played trumpet on the Dirty Dancing soundtrack.
Oh, no,
really?
Yeah, and at one point in time found himself playing on Austin City Limits, and
wow.
I don't know if it was Austin City Limits or some other TV broadcast he was on, and basically like he was standing in for someone else, got there late, and the saxophone player just like took him into the bathroom beforehand and was like, all right, here's the part, and played it for him. And he got it down like that. And in the middle of the show, it's like they point to him, to the camera, and it's like him soloing on camera for this part that he just learned a few minutes ago. So that is the world if you are a professional musician sometimes.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that sense of professionalism, just like hopping in, getting it down, and getting it done.
I can't imagine doing that, honestly, because I was a musician, high school and college.
Right.
Yeah.
I played the saxophone and the piano, and I still do a little bit. I don't have the time to do them as much as I used to. But even for me, just sight reading a piece sometimes as it got more and more advanced was hard. But I can't imagine just jumping in, learning something, hearing it by ear only, and then just, all right, here you go. That's it. Take
You've
it.
got to have that specific brain that can do that,
Yeah.
I would be freaking out. Like I would just be like, right there in front of the camera,
Well, Dalton, do you have a song recommendation for us?
Yes, I do. So the song is called "Real Love." It is by a group called Funk LeBlanc. It's a new genre of music. It's been around in a couple of years. It's called New NU Disco. And what it does is it takes kind of the beats and rhythms of like 70s era disco, kind of 80s-ish, but mixes it in with more modern instrumentation, EDM type stuff, and makes some really nice house and dance tracks out of it. So it gives it kind of an old but modern feel. It's really good.
Very cool.
Sounds good, yeah.
I love that. Y'all check that out for sure. I'm sure you can find that on the titles and the Spotifys and everything else. So
yes, it is on Spotify and on Apple Music.
Nice. Well, mine is I actually was having a hard time just picking one song this week, so I opened up a playlist right before we hit record and just hit random and picked up a song. So I'm gonna go with a song by a band called Billy Talent, kind of a punk rock, post-hardcore, if you will, in some regards or whatever. But the song is called "Surprise, Surprise" by Billy Talent, and they're a band that's been consistently good for a very long time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
This week I'm gonna go with "Surprise, Surprise" by Billy Talent. Great song. Yeah,
Whenever I was a
put out
teenager,
what's that?
I listened to a good bit of their first self-titled album.
Yeah.
A good bit, mostly because I had a Canadian friend that I would hit up on AIM, America Online's instant messenger, and that boy loved himself some Billy Talent, which would make sense because they were a Canadian band.
They are. Yeah, I was gonna say they are from Ontario, so yeah. I mean, they've been around for a long time. I think like 30 years. In some way, shape, or form, and early 90s act. So
I hope that the bassist still has the hair.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the thing you keep. You know what I mean? He may not even have hair at all, right? At this point, I haven't seen. I don't know. I haven't looked at him in a while. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, Dalton, thanks for joining us this week. Again, you go under the name Shadowclaw Cosplay when you're out and about at conventions and on the internet and whatnot. And as a matter of fact, you came to us because you won pretty big at Mobile Bay Anime Fest a little bit earlier.
Absolutely.
This
year.
So tell us about like the costume. There was a Cult of the Lamb costume, and tell us about entering the contest, your whole experience. I want to hear everything.
So I've been competing for a couple of years now. That was actually only my second award ever. A few years ago, I want to say 2019, I had won Best Novice at CoastCon, which some of the Humbl3 Fam may be familiar with, down in the south of Mississippi. I won Best Novice there as in my Inuyasha cosplay. And I kind of went from there. It kind of gave me the drive to keep going and doing bigger, better things. And, I kept practicing, learning more techniques, things like that. And I started playing Cult of the Lamb maybe a year or so ago when it was getting really, really popular on the internet. And it was just, I bought it for the Switch. And I rarely ever buy things for the Switch because the games never go down in price. But I wanted something to be able to take with me and play. And I got hooked. Like, it's such a fun little game. If you've never played, it's like a what's the word that they used? Roguelike RPG dungeon crawler type thing. It's a lot of fun. So I played it, fell in love with it, and I'm just like, this would be a really, really fun costume to do. And my fiance, the lovely Sunny Side Up Stuffies, who also has vended at quite a few of y'all's shows, she was working on a plush for me of the Lamb, because at this point there was like no merch for the game. It was still an indie title.
Yeah,
so I was
scenario.
pretty much exactly, and that's kind of what inspired all these companies finally to say, "Oh, we got to make merch and cash in on this." But I was in between jobs at the time, and so I was kind of in a low place, and I was basically doing odd jobs just to get the bills paid. And she surprised me one day. I came home with this plush, and it was just the cutest little thing. He's made of Sherpa and fleece and everything. And so I picked him up and I looked at him and I'm like, I got an idea, and I want to make a costume exactly like this. So what I did was I took her plush design and I basically adapted it into a costume version. So the bodysuit that I made is the same white Sherpa that the plush is made out of. So it looks and feels like wool.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you what material that was, yeah.
Yeah, so the white is Sherpa. The legs for the ears, the arms, and the legs are all a gray minky fleece. And then I made gloves with those too. Then the cape that I had was also a red minky fleece. Basically, I copied the same materials that she did. Yeah. And I replicated it down to, I had a hood on, I 3D printed the crown and the horns after modeling them. And then the collar, I found some EVA foam that I had in a box, covered it with some like leather vinyl-ish material, and basically made a leather collar kind of out of it and put a big old bell on it. So when basically, if you hold the plush up next to me, it's supposed to resemble almost exactly the same thing. Even down to the tuft that's on the front of the hood, because if you look at the character model, he has this little kind of floof on the front of his head that kind of cuts down in front of his face. So I got her pattern that she did the plush from, and made the tuft the same, so that way it would match. Because eventually, I plan on getting one of those little those like toddler carrier harnesses. I'm gonna put him in there and walk around conventions with him.
Yes.
And so that was the base costume, and then I did some leather work on it as well. I have a belt that I made. Actually, I made several years ago for another costume. I did a Khajiit from Skyrim.
Okay.
So I had armor and things like that. So I borrowed the belt from that. Added a little pouch on that I did, basic leather pouch so I could keep my wallet and things in. And then I 3D printed a little faux belt buckle that goes on the front. So that was the whole costume. And honestly, I loved it. It was a labor of love. It took me quite a time to do it, especially because I had never worked with Sherpa before. And let me tell you, having the seam rip, that was a nightmare.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Especially because I was having to use white thread, so my stitches wouldn't show up. So if I messed up, I had to sit there for a good 20, 30 minutes, 45 sometimes, trying to find the thread and nitpick it out.
Oh yeah, that's
and
true.
that was not fun.
All blends
but
in.
Yeah. So anyway, we went to Mobile Bay. We were still living in Texas at the time. And we went to Mobile Bay because we had gone the year before as a vendor, and we love going to Humbl shows. And so we went again. I was walking around in costume because I was like, you know what? I want to debut this costume. It was a lot of fun. I really want to wear it, and before it gets too hot to be in it. Yeah. So I went around, and I wasn't even sure I was going to enter the costume contest. My good friend Jay, who goes by Red Top Cosplay,
yes,
you guys
friend
know
of the show.
We do.
He saw me walking around because he hadn't seen me in ages because we'd been living at a state, and he saw him and he was like, "Oh my God, you look fantastic! Like, you have to enter, you have to." And I'm like, "Well, I guess." The big thing that was holding me back was because we were staying at a friend of ours' house. Maybe an hour away in Biloxi because all the hotels in the area were just way too expensive.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to do my makeup because normally when I do the lamb, I do face paint, I do like fake blood, I have a snout, like a prosthetic that gives me a lamb snout.
Okay. Yeah, so, continue, but this is something I wanted to ask you about specifically. So go on though.
So I didn't have a chance to do any of that. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to because I feel like I'm not gonna get as many brownie points for not doing my makeup. So he convinced me. I went ahead and did it and went in there, and I entered in Journeyman because I had already won Novice, and so I went ahead up to the next level. And they were calling me. They were calling out the names. I was standing in there, and they said the Journeyman was not there or something like that. They were going to go to the runner-up. I can't exactly remember what was said. And they called somebody else for the first time. I'm like, oh, well, that's okay. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
And then when they call Master, they call me, and I'm standing there just like, and like,
wait, am I a Master?
I'm like, hold on, wait a second.
Yeah.
They said Cult of the Lamb, right? I'm asking the people next to me, and they're all turning around and looking at me like I just grew a second head.
Yeah.
And so I run up there. Now, keep in mind, you remember this, Grant. I had my little
a
bowl of poop prop, and I run up there. I'm holding it like this, and I grab the trophy. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm just like dumbfounded because I'd never even thought or expected to win like that, and it was just a huge honor, and it's motivated me to do so much more stuff, bigger projects, and just that's something I'm really, really looking forward to.
Well, that's the thing, cosplay judges, they will tell you when it's time to move up. And they definitely did there. So I like that. That's very cool. Yeah. And it's interesting because you talked about the suit and how, really when I look at it, I see that, only your face is visible. And you're completely covered all the way, and I know that is a commitment. I know that I don't know that I could do it, so I have a lot of respect for folks that can do that. And yeah, I was going to ask you because you, like you said, your face wasn't done up for that first one, but it was such a good look, it worked anyway. The next time we saw you, you did that one again. You ran a panel at Southern Nerds Fest.
Right.
And you did have it all done up, and you had the prosthetic on your face and everything like that. So, which is even more of a commitment, right? You're totally done up. I mean, and to get like, especially like blue, a color like that, like just even across your face. I mean, it's a commitment. So, respect to that, props to that one for sure.
Thank you.
Now, I mean, the thing is, so you've got to retire it from competition now, I guess, right? So what's the next move?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So the current version of it, yes, I have to retire.
Yeah.
So now also I have to retire it from basically cons of that scale.
Yeah.
So another convention of the size of Mobile Bay. Now, I asked several of my friends who are much more advanced, they've done this a lot longer than I have. If I make significant improvements to the costume, which I plan to, he's getting a big overhaul, then I can re-enter him. Now, it is frowned upon in the community to enter the same contest at the same convention with that same costume, so obviously I will not be doing that.
Right.
I would take him to a bigger show, like some of the bigger ones at like maybe state capitals or things like that. Like I know Comic-Con in Birmingham's one of our favorite ones to go to, or if we ever go, there's a convention we like in Texas called San Japan. That's a really big, well-known show. So he would be redone and then go to a bigger show like that. But at least that's what I've been told by more than a few people, is that as long as I remake him and have proof that I remake him and upgrade him significantly, then he can be eligible at other shows to re-enter. So.
Yeah, well, that's good. Like, at least you're sourcing that information out there, because I do know that, like you said, there's an etiquette that goes along with that, and you want to make sure that you're on point with that, and you're not doing anything that's frowned upon in the community, because it is a very vocal, very passionate community, and it should be.
Absolutely,
because, it's a community of makers and artists. So it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, as long as you're getting that information from other cosplayers who know what they're doing, then, I would say go with whatever they say, not whatever I say, because I will host a contest. I'm not going to judge a contest. I don't want that. That's too much pressure for me. I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this for future, the term, so it has been a problem in the community where people will take the same costume and enter it at multiple conventions in the same level. So like, say for example, exactly. Yeah. So I remember a few years ago there was a cosplayer, I won't name them or say the events that they went to, but they entered in one competition. Then I believe a couple months prior it was found out they had entered in another competition and maybe did one upgrade to the costume, and you wouldn't have known that anything was different unless you were told. So there was no visible upgrade to it. So, and you're right, this is a very vocal, a very passionate community, and I want to respect my fellow artists. I want to respect the people that work hard to do all this, because there's plenty of stuff I don't know how to do. There's plenty of stuff that I see people do, and I'm like, oh my God, how do you do that? I want to be on that level.
Not to make light of the situation, but there's an episode of Trailer Park Boys that's like this. They're like, all right, we can take these items if they're at the curb. So they move like lawn furniture and like grills to the curb. Like, all right, we can take it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Trailer Park Boys.
I will say, where because I live in a city here in South Hattiesburg. We're in a neighborhood though, and it is neighborhood knowledge that if it's on the curb, it's fair game.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the rule everywhere.
If you ever want to get rid of something, just put it on the curb. We call it the magic curb for a reason. So you put it there one day, and the next day it's gone.
That's where my stovetop's going to go this weekend, on the curb. So I know something to pick it up.
You got to put a note on it. Great for roasting marshmallows.
Sure. Yeah. Watch these two knobs. Otherwise, no. They're going to scrap it is what they're going to do. They're not going to try to put it in somewhere.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, that's great. So is that what's next? Is upgrading the Cult of the Lamb cosplay, or is there something else on the docket?
So he's one of the things.
Okay.
Like I can kind of tell you some of the things I'm planning for him. The bodysuit's going to have some work done to it, as well as the hood. I'm planning a new crown. I've been learning more about LEDs and coding and things like that.
Oh, cool.
So my plan is to have the crown with a little like LCD inside of it, so the eye will move, the pupil will move and blink and things like that. So as I'm walking around, the eye will be looking around and blinking and looking at people.
Nice.
And then
so much.
The cape will be redone, something a little more elegant of a fabric choice, maybe like a velvet or something like that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add some embroidery to it, to each panel. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? You ever see like tapestries that have like prophecies and things on them, like in movies and stuff like that? So it's going to have embroidery.
Midsummer. Kind of like the
yeah. So it'll have embroidery kind of like that on each panel, and that fans of the game will recognize. And then also my biggest thing that I'm going to be doing is that I'm sorry, my fiance is standing in the hallway and she's holding one of our giant orange cats, and he's just like, "Help me, please." The biggest upgrade he's going to be getting will be, I'm going to completely take the legs off of the bodysuit, and I'm making digigrade legs, so it will look like I have hooves.
Oh my God.
So I'll be walking around and I'm modeling and printing hooves that will go on the bottom, so as you look down at my feet, they look like lamb feet, like hooves.
So will they envelop your feet, or will you be walking on hooves?
No. Well, so it's kind of a trick that the fursuit makers use and that stilt makers use. Essentially what it is it'll be kind of a small stilt where it's kind of at an angle like this. So my foot will sit in it. So to me, it'll feel like I'm just really wearing some steep shoes. But at the same time, the padding and the fabric and everything that's around it will give the illusion that it's actually like an animal's hind leg. So it's really in the way
hoof boots is what Doug Jones calls it.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Be walking. You'll be walking this con in high heels, essentially.
Essentially, yes.
I'm a prey for you. I'm a prey for you.
Wedges,
yes.
Yeah.
So there's a way to hide it. And also, I will say I'm a band kid, so I got used to doing all sorts of backwards marching and weird ballet stuff. So the balls of my feet are a lot stronger than your average person, because we did have to do a lot of dance training for like our shows and things like that. So that's Lammy. And then there's a prop I'm working on for him too, but I'm going to keep that a surprise.
Okay.
Another project I'm working on, I don't know if you two guys are familiar at all with the video game Undertale. It was popular several years ago.
Is that the shirt you're wearing right now?
No, that's Bucky.
Oh, it's Bucky. I saw the skull face, and I didn't see anything below the skull face. I didn't realize it was Bucky from Bucky's. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like Sans. Yeah. But yeah, no, this is just good old Bucky.
Cool.
So I am going to be doing a full armor build of Asgore from Undertale with the trident.
Very cool.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah, that one should be pretty dope. Well, cool. That'll be good to look forward to just on the circuit, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's going to be probably my biggest build yet. There's going to be a lot of electronics involved in him, special effects. I'm actually trying to learn how to make my own prosthetics. The one that I wore for Lammy, I did not make. There's a company that I use that's based out of Canada. I love using them for stuff. They're called North Fur FX. But I'm trying to learn how to sculpt my own prosthetics and things so I can make something for him, because he's going to have a lot of facial hair and long, like regal king-like hair and big old horns and things like that. But what I'm most excited about is his trident. I'm working on modeling right now to be 3D printed out of translucent red PETG filament
Yeah, that stuff looks sick.
It's going to be wired to where I can turn it on like a lightsaber, so it'll shoot up from the bottom and light up and hold it.
Very cool. Can't wait to see
so
that.
cool.
It's gonna be dope. Well, what's your next contest? Do you know?
At this time, I don't. So this weekend, actually, we are going to a show in Lufkin, Texas. My lovely fiance is going to be vending at that one. It's Piney Woods Comic Con in Lufkin. It's a first-year show. The owner is a friend of mine, so we're going to go and support him and vend at the show. But after that, we will probably be taking a break for the rest of the year unless one of the shows reaches out and says, hey, we want you to come guest.
Right.
Yeah.
But other than that, we will probably be taking a break till after the first of the year and then hop back on the circuit, just because I haven't even had a chance to get my workspace set up yet.
Yeah.
Like if you look over here behind me, there's my poor 3D printer sitting over there.
Yeah.
With boxes of props and pieces and things like that. I haven't even had a chance to open up yet. So
I hear that.
Look, I hope that you have one of those days where you just like you get that inkling of like, okay, well, I'm going to do this small thing, and I hope that small thing, like, you know, just opens up and you're like, all right, well, since I'm doing this, I might as well do that. And I hope that it's just you ride that wave of productivity, because if you're anything like me, not shit's getting done unless you ride that wave of productivity.
No. I was the kid that randomly at like 12 o'clock at night, I was like, I want to move my room around, and then I'm trying to be quiet, not wake my parents up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's slowly getting done. We got my fiance space set up, and our living room is just about done. And then I've just been busy with because I started a new job when we moved.
Yeah.
I work at one of the universities over here, so we've been getting busy gearing up for back to school because the classes start next week, and so my plate's just been full.
Grind's real, man. The grind is real.
It really and truly is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, it's all dope to see. Before we cut out of here, I do want you to go ahead and just let everybody know where they can find you and where they can find your work.
Absolutely. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok as Shadowclaw Cosplay, all one word. Most active on Instagram. I do have a Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now, but I don't.
Nobody
really
calls it
on
X.
there. Yeah. Nobody calls it X. I mostly just reshare art and memes on there. Mm-hmm. So unless you just want to see memes, you head over there. And then my TikTok, I'm trying to, once I finally get a space set up, to make more content, because I have about 1,200 sounds saved of things that I want to do.
Yeah.
But just never have the time to do. I'm sure you guys can relate.
Absolutely.
Once we finally get settled, I'm going to start cranking out more stuff and more content and things like that once things kind of settle down finally.
Wonderful.
Cool. Well, I like that. I dig all of that. Well, Dalton Shadowclaw Cosplay, I really want to thank you for joining us here this week. And y'all, Humbl3 Fam, we had a metric butt ton of guest announcements drop for Alabama Comic-Con.
We sure did.
Which is coming up very soon. All that dropped just this week here. And the thing is, we don't even have time to get into it. By the time our next episode drops, we're going to be right about at a month away from Alabama Comic-Con coming along. So I think our next episode, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And I believe a friend of mine from the Gameware Express podcast is going to be joining us next week as well, so we can talk about some retro gaming and having some good times there too. So
we'll talk about it then.
A lot of fun. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah. I'll ask him about Cult of the Lamb and if he's played and what.
Yeah, they just came out with a new update too. They announced local co-op, so now you can play. You can play with a co-op. They have a. So yeah, you can play. The one person plays as the lamb, and now they've introduced a new character. The second player plays as a goat. Okay. And he's basically like a negative of the lamb.
The mortal enemy of the lamb, the goat.
Essentially, yeah, actually.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but according to the song, sheep go to heaven and goats go to hell. That's
Dude, I just listened to that album for the first time on Tuesday.
Really?
No. Yeah. It was Tuesday evening. I listened to that album for the first time. A friend of mine came over with that LP, and we listened to it. It's really I've never listened to much of Cake.
Yeah. There's a sneak song recommendation for everyone. A song by Cake, "Sheep Go to Heaven." It's a good one, and it's a great album. Well, is that "Prolonging the Magic"? Is that right?
Yeah.
Good album. Good one.
I tell you what. Speaking of Cake, did you ever hear their cover of "War Pigs" that they did?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Song?
I think so.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
So good.
I like it a lot. Super good. Yeah. Look, there's some bonus song recommendations. That's why you stick around to the end, Humble Fam. Okay, that's why you stick around to the end. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Look, y'all. Dalton, once again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Absolutely, guys.
Thanks for telling us about your story and just everything you've been up to. It's really cool. So, Humble Fam, y'all, if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed. You give us a like. You follow us on all of our socials out there at Humble Show, and we'll be back here next week for another visit on the Humble Show. But until then, stay humble.